All right. Hello, 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 everyone. I'm super excited to be back before you again. And I have with me Dr. Stacy Moore, the operator. And I'm super excited because you all should know this by now. Anytime Dr. Stacy is appearing and on board with me, it is because we are launching another book collaboration project. So this means more co-author stories being published and shared, more stories in the marketplace, and of course, more businesses being birthed, more lives impacted, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'm bringing Dr. Stacy to our virtual stage. Dr. Stacy, thank you for being on.
Yes, absolutely. I am excited to be back again. That means there's another book that went out, and there are more authors out there telling their stories and connecting with the community. And especially in these days, people are looking for a community. So this is where they can find it.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to turn it over to you because you are the operator and I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm just here. I'm here. But I just wanted to say publicly, thank you again, because anytime I knock, I throw a rock at the window, I slide up in the DM, call you, email you, you readily respond to me. And so I just wanted to publicly thank you. Thank you for that. So the floor is yours.
Well, of course, as the Queen Visionary, why would I not respond to be a part of this? And I don't know, is this 6, 7, somewhere along? I mean, you've got over 14 now. So,
Yes.
but I've been a part of about half of them, and it's been a great experience. I know that everybody that's out there now is saying, here she is again, right? We want to know what this book is about and the title and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say, everybody, this is Propelled into Purpose. It's the launch, and you're going to get to meet some phenomenal women with some phenomenal stories. Now, everybody that comes on here has a phenomenal story. And the big deal about it is that the Queen Visionary has the big vision, right? And she pulls the stories out of everybody and puts them out there into the communities so that we can relate to them. These experiences, some of them are not talked about. And that's why it's important to have them written as part of their legacy, as well as to connect with you in the community so that you know you are not alone in these experiences. Some of you have had sleepless nights. You have experienced all kinds of things that you say, I wish there was somebody to talk to. Well, I'm going to ask you today to, one, pay attention to where these women are, because they might be in a city near you, because they are all across the nation. And then two, does their story connect to you? Is there a part of their story that you heard that, one, you'd like to give them kudos for bringing that out and being vulnerable about it? And then two, is that something that you need to have more insight on, have a conversation on, or even better, feel like you might have a chapter or a book inside of you? So I have been working with this woman, and she is a bestseller. So that's not just books, it's a bestseller. And this one in particular, even the foreword was strategically put into place. And that young lady, just as well, Sherry Summers Bell, is somebody that I know personally. I have watched her go through a lot of her story, and it was great to see her in the foreword. She's not here today with us, but make sure that you grab the book, of course, and then read her story. Don't skip the foreword, because a lot of times people skip the forewords. Don't skip the foreword, because it's definitely the opening of the door to the rest of the stories. And so she talks about those defining moments. And we're going to now jump into it. And we're going to talk to Alicia Hurt and get her story out here, ask her a few questions. And then you'll also notice that throughout this, you're going to hear scriptures. Why? Because all of the people that are part of her book, they're all Christian. They're all coming from that position. They walk with God, they understand God, and you're going to find out in most cases that's how they got through it and that's how they got to her. So let's bring Alicia up and hear a little bit more about her.
All right, here's Alicia.
Hey,
Hi.
Alicia, how are you?
I'm good on the go as usual, as you can see.
No problem. Releasing fear to step boldly into purpose, right? So go and make disciples of all nations. And remember, I'm always with you no matter what until the end of time. Based in Bainbridge, Georgia, and raised in the DMV, that's, I know, that's one of my old stomping grounds. So, multi published author. Just real quick, can you tell the people how many books?
Well, to date, I clicked like release on my 49th book on Amazon, so that's exciting.
Woo! So if you're out there saying, I can't do it, this woman has done it over and over and over again. So make sure that you jot her name down so you can connect with her at the end. They'll all be telling where you can connect with them. So, you get that inside story. Caribbean roots.
Yeah,
Caribbean
man.
roots, right? I love that. And then you support women through healing and purpose driven transformation. So you write vulnerability about shedding the mask of corporate life and choosing your own voice. What's the tipping point when silence became dangerous to you and more dangerous than the fear itself of the incident? Tell us a little bit about that.
Seeing my mother transition in 2023 and how she was not able to enjoy, in my opinion, her retirement and her life after clocking in a 9 to 5 for over 30 plus years. That was the turning point for me.
Yeah, I understand that 40-40-40 plan is no joke. And so there are a number of women that are experiencing that now. In this audience, we're talking about a lot of mature women, or they are watching the baby boomers now, their parents, going through that phase. So I think it's important that you highlight that to them. You're also a caregiver and entrepreneur. Healing collided, all those things collided in your story. So, how did they define your definition of faith?
Well, I had to look around me, look all around, look at the statistics, look at my daily life, look at my babies, and say, I want more. And at this
Mm.
point, at this juncture of my life, I'm going to choose me so that I can show up better for everybody around.
So, how hard was that for you, though?
It was so hard. So my personality, I'm impulsive. Like if I like something, I'm gonna get it, and then I get home, and be like, "Why you do that?" So a part of me was like, "Girl, go hard." Like that's a DMV term back in the day. Go hard, like go in, like it is whatever, like whatever. But
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm an adult. I have 4 kids. My husband's gonna be looking at me. Like we got a lot at stake. But I had to trust God because I knew that it was something just kept tugging at me, and I was like, I got to do it.
And the caregiver experience. Now, that's another one that's very huge right now. That's something that I am doing. I'm 2 years into being a secondary caregiver. Can you tell us a little bit about how that strengthened or weakened your faith over time as well?
It definitely strengthened it. My sister in law had told me, get what you want. She went through a similar situation with her dad and she had regret. And with her telling me that, I talk about it to this day. Anyone going through, because I was a secondary caregiver for 3 years with my mother. And I would ask her questions like, are you going to tell me when it's time? Are you proud of me? Like tough questions that you wouldn't normally ask. I got
Mm,
that being a caregiver.
mm,
And the hardest part was seeing her decline. But it was easier when we were at the funeral home, everyone's crying, sobbing, they have regret. I mean, of course, I was sad, but I was also happy because I knew my mom did what she needed to do. She walked that journey to the very end, and
mm.
it gave me peace. It really did.
That's really good. So for you out there, if you're caregiving right now, or you could be moving into that position, don't hold back in asking the questions. Don't hold back in expressing the emotions, because you don't want them to leave you and to leave you with all of those feelings. Now is the time to do that. And the loving as well. If you have some relationships with sisters and brothers or parents or other family members that need to be resolved, don't wait. Don't wait. Do it now. Okay, so final question for you, Alicia.
Okay.
If if you were your younger self, the bold girl who sang loud in church and wore bright colors, and you could sit with the you today, what do you think she might be most surprised about?
Girl, those pencil legs, that shape is going to make people remember you wherever you are. That bubbly personality, girl, please sing to the mountaintop because you're going to actually get paid, girl. They're going to pay you to open your mouth. You hear me? This is just practice.
Yes, yes, yes. I absolutely love it. So thank you, Alicia, for telling your story. Thank you for telling stories over and over again. Over there, everybody heard her. She's on Amazon, 49 published books. It's not going to stop here. We already know that because she said, she's loud, she's bold, and she's getting her word out there. And same thing to the rest of you. So thank you, Alicia, for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, next coming up, Marcy. Hey, beautiful.
Marcy, you're muted.
Yeah.
Get unmute.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hello. Good, and you?
I am well. I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Designed for destiny.
Yes,
Turning a
ma'am.
dream into reality. And that used to be the tagline on my very first business, was turning
Yes.
dreams into reality. So I absolutely love that. I foretold the former things long ago. My mouth announced them and I made them known. Then suddenly I acted and they came to pass. So,
Yes.
Marcy, you're the owner of The Rain. I have another connection. And you all that have been out there and seen these, I feel like, the good doctor brings these stories in to be a reflection for me. The Rain is actually one of my daughter's businesses as well. But you're a
Oh,
premier wedding and event venue in Milford, Connecticut, and a former senior accountant turned entrepreneur. We already know
yeah.
how hard that is. And you're known for curating breathtaking events that reflect faith, vision, and resilience. So,
That is
going into your chapter, you describe dreaming in secret while raising children alone. And so, how did honoring your children's dreams give you permission to honor your own?
so. First of all, because like I started out with my son, and because of his dream, and I'm sitting in the background watching him dream and helping him to get there. I came to the point when I'm sitting from the outside looking in, and they're moving, and I'm stuck because they came first. And, the fear of me dreaming was taken away from them because as a single mother, my job is to just nurture them, let them come into their own. And I'm sitting by the sidelines. At the end of the day, it didn't make sense because at some point I think I would have resentment to them,
Mhm.
against them, and feel like at certain point as they continue to grow, especially when my son went off to college, I felt like at some point I'm going to feel like they abandoned me because I put myself to the side just to make sure they had what they needed because they only have me. So that's when I said it's time for me to stop looking through the window and looking at everybody moving and shaking and doing their thing and begin to start talking it, manifesting it, believing in it that I had
Mm.
this dream. God put that dream in me. It didn't just come out of the air. So then it's time for me to start walk the walk and start telling it so it could begin to manifest.
Yes, yes. So many people are afraid at that
Mhm.
point, and especially women, of starting a business a little later in life. And
Yes.
so that was some of the inner dialogue that you had. But then you said yes to the rain. Can you tell us a little bit about the rain?
Yes. 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 So Uh, when I quit my job, That was still a dream, but it was in way in the back because again, you doubt yourself. So your dreams are so big. It's like, okay, I want that, but right. So
Mhm.
when I quit my job, when I made that decision to walk in and put in my 2 weeks notice or whatever you may call it, I was leaving to just go to design and decorate at other people's venue, not knowing 6 months later God was going to swing that door wide open for me to walk in. And at that time, it's crazy because where the rain is, I've been taking my children to the beach when we couldn't afford to go on vacation down the street. So I've passed that place for over 20 something years, going back and forth. My favorite ice cream place is down the street by the beach. And so um the way it happened, I just finished decorating down the street, and my husband and I said, let's go get some ice cream. We're walking down, we're driving down, got the ice cream, driving back, and I just took a look to the left. And I've never seen the building. For all the years I've been going, I've never seen the building. But this time I turned, looked to the left, and the sign was there. And the rest is history. But we didn't have a name for the rain. So I went back to the water where, that's where I go to meditate, bring my children to play in the water and watch them. And I said, God, I need a name. I want to give this back to you. I want you to get the glory out of this because I know this is all you. And so me and my husband, we had a paper, the crystal ball, this, that, and all these different names. And it wasn't hidden. And then I'm just looking out at the water and I kept hearing rain, rain. I'm like, rain. And so I began to REIN. And so the rain kept hitting. And I started to do a little research on what it really meant. I know what it
Mhm.
meant in the Bible. Well, what does it really mean? And then authority, taking authority, queenship, kingship, and this is your time. I kept hearing said, "This is your time. This is your moment." And so here, that's the name of the rain, and I just add the THE to it because the rain, I'm gonna be, it's like forever. It's gonna keep going. So yes, that's how the rain
Absolutely.
came, and it was given by God.
That's right. So that was one of those prayers that you asked for. It was answered, not exactly the way you expected, but it was
No.
answered. So the last question is for those people out there that are saying, I have this corporate job, but I'm in a relationship. I'm married, but I want to do this thing. Talk to them just a little bit about how that worked for you with the faith of your partner to support you moving forward in a process like this. Because a lot of them are saying, like, I can't leave because I know how much money I'm making and they know how much money I'm making and what I'm bringing into the home. And I'm afraid, I fear to make that move.
So I'm a person that once it's in my mind and it can't move, I just know it's God. So when I went to my husband and I told him, listen, I was already going through with the job. Like I already knew I was supposed to exit, but I kept hanging on because that's steady money. And I had finally got to the point where I still left not feeling that I was paid for my work, but I was at a good place, and now I'm married. So me and my husband together now, I could do all the things I couldn't do, travel and this and that. But it was so heavy on me. So I just boldly pulled him to the side and said, I'm ready to go. And it wasn't hard to convince him. He already had
Mm.
saw my art, how he said your hands are gifted. He already saw me doing the decorations and stuff, but he just thought it was just that. And so he bought it right away. He said, I got your back. And all he said was, when I told him, he said, just wait till the next year, which was towards the end of the prior year. So January 1st, I walked in and it was on, but he was on board. I don't know. I just felt like God already had prepared him because it wasn't really hard to convince him. Now, on the other hand, once the business started, it was a different story. We went through ebbs and flows because the business wasn't taking off like he would think it was, or me. We didn't know what we were stepping into, but it wasn't hard to convince him. And I just give that credit to God to like massaging his heart and preparing him. And that's when I knew that God had called me out of corporate to do this.
I love that. I love that. Um, ordering the steps of not only you, and for those people that are out there, if you want to hear more about how this dream went and how the process went, because as you hear, she just didn't arrive here, with this business and the name and everything flowing. There was a lot that went before that, and that's inside in the chapter. We don't give it all away here. We want you to go and to read it. So thank you very much, Marcy, for sharing your story and turning your dream into a reality, and hopefully turning someone else's into reality as well.
Thank you for having me.
Carolyn, we here? Did she make it here? Yes.
Hi,
Carolyn Brown, how are you today?
doing well. A little bit, my
All
voice
right.
is kind of shaky, but it'll be okay.
It's all right. Faith is going to carry you. You are rooted in faith and
Yes.
rising in purpose. Yes. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So we don't see that. We don't hear that. We only are going to hear your story right now. Originally
Okay.
from Pittsburgh and now living in Maryland, another DMVer. Um, Safe Place Books and Gifts. And you're a coach, motivational speaker, and first time published author. Woo! With a mission
Yeah.
to help others uncover their why. Graduated, look, class of 86, that's me again. The good doctor, she tags me in and all of this stuff. So your journey shows how relocation, reinvention, and entrepreneurship walk, hand in hand. But how did you keep your faith alive during the winter seasons?
Mm. During the winter seasons, by constantly staying in touch with what I was doing. Because in the winter season, it's kind of slow. So you have to find something to do. And that's how I kept up in the winter seasons. And I'm always the type that if I'm not doing nothing, something's wrong. So I have to keep moving. So that's what I've been doing, is just keep moving in the winter. And that was mainly the toughest part because I like to keep going. So in the winter, no still for me. I keep moving.
That's right. That's right. And that goes with anything. And we know that typically, I mean, if we want to be literal about it, in winter, if you stand still, that's how you get cold, right? And you get
Yeah.
frostbitten and all of that. They tell you to keep moving around, keep the circulation going, keep the blood flowing. So the same thing in your life and in business. I love that. You talked about being surrounded by other Black entrepreneurs and how that visibility impacted your belief about what was possible for you. Share a little bit of that.
It all started back in Pittsburgh, excuse me, where I was surrounded like a community outreach ministry. And all the people in there, as far as staff, were people who were into businesses. And I started as a secretary, but I ended up being almost like the executive because I went up, I kept going up. And that was the point right there. So after I came to Maryland, for some reason on the job that I was in, the Lord began to surround other business people and entrepreneurs. And that's all we would talk about, even on the job. And they would share with me companies to go to, people to go to. And I don't know how they knew, but we connected. We all connected. And that's how that came about. So I knew that the Lord was pulling me in that direction. And it never left my mind back in Pittsburgh. It always stayed. It was something that I knew I had to continue on. Once I left there, it was still there. So the Lord was just moving me step by step. It's
I
all He
love
knew
it.
to. Mhm.
Yeah. And the same is now with each one of these books that the doctor has put out. It's provided another network of people with the same mindset, the same drive, the same faith to give you that. So if you're out there and saying, I need a community, I need other women in most, now all the books aren't all women, so you have to go check out and find out where the men are because they're in there too. But this is a place that allows you to have another community, another faith-based community with women that are driven in their own purpose. So last question for you is, if your purpose had a voice during your hardest moments, what do you think it would have whispered to you? Or what did it whisper? Because you've had all of these seasons and these times, and you mentioned that back in Pittsburgh, those things still came forward, right? And you remembered those things. What kind of things were whispered either from God or that you continue to hear that kept you moving?
What kind of things I would say? Don't give up. Of course, keep the faith. Um, walk by faith, not by sight. Because if you
Mm,
look at the surroundings and you listen to other voices, you have to drown that out. You have to go with what you know. And those are the voices what I heard. And another thing I heard was keep going. Just keep going and don't, stop until the vision comes to pass.
ooh, I love that. I love that. So congratulations on being a first
Thank
time
you.
published author here. Yes, and for some people, they were dropping out now. They're saying, I can't do it, whether it's the business, whether it's their relationship, whether it is considering writing a book. So those things that you just expressed, I hope they heard you. I hope they heard you. All right. So we're going to move on. And Tiffany. Welcome, Tiffany. Tiffany Mac Mohammed. Strength in the storm. Ooh-wee. Now, we have had some storms around here. So, anybody, I'm just going to say in reference, if you are living and breathing today and you need a little solace, you need a little inspiration, and that is a lot of people out here. This is another reason to grab this book. Check this chapter out. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways, know him, and he will make your path straight. This is a seasoned HR executive, adjunct professor, and public servant in Bloomfield, Connecticut, serves as an HR manager at Disney, and deeply involved in the community advocacy, education, and again, faith based leadership. All right. So this is another situation where I see a lot. This is corporate, right? Corporate women that everybody says, oh, you should just be going through the motions, retire, and be satisfied with that. For you, your chapter explores the intersection of personal loss and unwavering faith. So, what was the moment that taught you that strength isn't always loud?
Whew, that is deep. I think, as I think about my chapter and the story that I tell is, and I really didn't get to the death of my father, which happened over 10 years ago, but really between the two, the convergence of the death of my dad, plus now recently with my mom passing, it was in that moment that I realized that I needed to tell my story. And it was in that moment you asked that question. It was in that moment that I realized that there was noise. It was loud, but it was noise that I needed to speak to.
Mm. And so the storm's going on, feels never ending. And again, a lot of people are going through that in this very moment. This book is placed here, divinely placed here to give everybody some relief. Believe, walk through these stories to find some comfort. It's ever never ending, but you anchored yourself. How did you anchor yourself in the storm?
Yeah, as a little girl, I just remember going to church, and my upbringing has not always been Sunday mornings being in the pew, I was on the choir, I was in Sunday school doing all the things. I was also brought up in a private school that was Christian based. And one may say, you had all those experiences, sometimes folks walk away from that. But for me, I look at that as the blessed opportunity that really gave me that true foundation. It
Mm,
allowed me to know that my strength is resting in Him. And when those storms, when those deaths, when those hard times came, I was able to pull into those scripture verses that I learned as a young girl, right? Trust in the Lord, right? My strength comes from Him. All of those scriptures just continue to come back. Even those old school hymns that I love so dearly, right? Those things came back to me in the hardest of moments to remind me that I can't do this alone. I
mm,
can't put my faith in, fill in the blank, go shopping, and that's going to help solve it. No, I needed to open my scripture. I needed to put that song on to remind me of who I was, and who I was resting in His strength, resting in God's strength.
mm. Good words to listen to for right now in time. Take time out. If you missed it, go back, listen to this replay again. These women are telling you, they are guiding you, they are preaching to you, to your hearts and to your spirits. So make sure, and then grab the book. Every one of these chapters, there's somebody that you know that can relate to the moments that these women are speaking to, if it's not you. And some of it is you. And you're not there yet. The realization is not there. It has not connected, or the trauma has been so bad that it's been so suppressed that you've chosen to ignore it. This is the time to address it. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm in the South right now. And so hurricanes are the big thing, right? We're getting ready to move into that. If you could name your storm,
Hmm.
what might you name that storm?
Ooh, I have to ponder on this one. As I think most recently with my mom's passing, and the reason why she passed was
Mm,
due to ALS. And for those who don't know, it is a neurological disease that takes over your body. And eventually, your diaphragm is the reason that you ultimately take your last breath. And so I would name that storm, and I talk about this in the book, not really understanding what that ALS was when we first got the diagnosis. And so I would name that storm Storm ALS. Because now
mm,
I think about those folks who look like me, who are brown just like I am, and don't really understand what that diagnosis means for their loved ones, for their family members, right? What's to come. So that's what I would name this storm.
I love that. I love that. And so, thank you again for sharing your story, sharing with us, being vulnerable. Again, coming from that corporate background, a lot of times people are like, I don't want to say all that. These people are going to know more about me than, all of that. The good doctor's been doing this for years, y'all, doing this for years. So, we appreciate you being in that position and sharing your storm, and I'm sure that there's another chapter or book inside of you too, and we're just waiting to hear it. And I'm gonna
Thank you.
jot that storm ALS. It needs to be. We're talking about caregiving again, and that experience that we go through, and there are a number of us going through that, and we need to share and be in community about it and speak about it. So thank you,
Thank you.
Liz Vereen. Liz. Woo! She came ready. If y'all don't know what the name of the book is, I'm going to ask you to look at the screen. Take a good look. She comes branded. Faith, Fear, in the Fight for My Future as a Latina Woman. So she doubled down on the faith. For now I know the plans and thoughts that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans for peace and well being, and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And strength and dignity are her clothing. She rejoices over the future. So I'm going to ask in reflection that you all think about those things, the plans that have already been put in place, feeling as part of a disaster right now, but understanding that we will rejoice in the future. These chapters, these women are powerful. So, Puerto Riqueña, Latina from Hartford, Connecticut. Yep, Liz holds advanced degrees in human services and organizational leadership, and an author and an advocate for whose journey proves that faith and perseverance can rewrite any future. And so you write powerfully about the intersections of culture, identity, and everybody's expectations of you. We all have that, especially this whole group. You had a different twist and flair on it. When's the first time that you realized that your voice, though, carried authority and that people could hear you beyond what other people's expectations were of you?
It wasn't until much later. It wasn't until I started going to school, being around other people, and finding my voice as I started to become more educated. Um, Unfortunately, I mean, it's. I wish it happened early in life, but that's why it's so important for me to get my message and really captivate young women. Um, because I was, it's kind of where adults are talking, you as a kid, you don't speak. And that's how I was raised. And I never really thought about what that would look like down the road.
I appreciate that. And that's for many of you that are here. We're talking about finding your voice or doing these things later in life. This is not at 20 and just going, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do in college and I'm going to graduate and, everything is set. So I appreciate that the women out here understand it's not too late. It's not too late. You continue to embrace your culture and your heritage, which you could have dismissed in order to fit in. And so, how did that continue to shape you, though, as a woman of purpose?
It continued to shape me as I started to share my story and speak to other Latina women and seeing how it wasn't just me. I wasn't alone, and others have gone through similar things. And then you add in the part of, growing up as a Christian and having that very strict home. So it's just been so nice to talk to other women and being able to share the story and work together so that we can speak to our community and educate us.
Yes, and throughout your time, you did tell your story goes back very far and took you through, school and those transitions. And a lot of us are looking for a particular type of person that is going to call us out or that we're expecting will degrade us or say something negative about us. But I want you at this time to tell me about one or two scenarios where it was somebody that you didn't expect that defied your identity or culture, because we have to stay ready, with our
Mm-hmm.
surroundings and not expect people to always accept us. So what does that possibly look like, or what did that look like for you where you didn't expect it?
Oh, that's a great question. um, I would probably say my family.
Mhm.
It was I don't know. Can you repeat that last part for me?
Yeah, in the fear that we face in life, we expect some people to automatically dismiss us. We know it may be a cultural thing, it may be men, and you're going into this environment and you're the only woman. So you kind of have that expectation. But we also feel like there are people that should be in our corner, and sometimes they're not. And these experiences have come up over time. And so I'm wondering if there was a time where you said, well, I thought that person was going to support me, or I thought they understood what I was going through, but
Mhm.
obviously they didn't.
I would say probably the first person that would stand out would be, which I write about, is the principal or the head person that was in charge of the Christian school that I was going to. Because when I first enrolled, they spoke so much about the love of God and how we love one another, and then when they found out that now I'm having a child, and it was that rejection of, okay, well, you have to go, you can't be here. So that was hard, because nobody there was supporting me, just one person at the school, I should say. So I would say
Mhm.
that time. And then I would say, people, a few people in church, I would say. Not a bad thing,
Mhm.
because it's a great thing to learn. Um, but people certainly do look at you differently when you make different life choices than they have. And instead of helping and encouraging and praying, they push you away. But I thank God that instead of pushing me away, like Tiffany had mentioned, sometimes growing up in that environment, you're just like, oh, I'm leaving church altogether and never coming back. But you don't, because that's what grounds you and keeps you so strong. And so that's what I would say.
I love that. I love that. And yes, so y'all, in the chapter, she goes into this experience, so it's not just what she said. There's a whole experience that goes with that. And I could definitely feel that. I've been beside people where that has happened. And, the fight for them, making sure that we fight for people around us. When we see those experiences, we can't close our eyes. Our faith says that we're supposed to take them in as part of the community, and that we're supposed to do everything that we can. In their fear, we have other fears that they may be able to help us with. And their experiences are put in front of us for us to acknowledge and to use that as growth and experiences. So that faith, fear, and then understanding what the future has brought her through that experience is absolutely phenomenal. So we appreciate you sharing your story, being vulnerable throughout this, and for the leadership that you are having now as an advocate. So thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Did Felicia make it? Woo!
Oh, hello.
Felicia. Felicia.
I'm here.
Grace carried me through. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Be still and know that I am God. I love this, and as we talk about parts of the nation and things that are going on, and I'm going to keep making reference to that because I want everybody to understand that this is a here and now thing, even though these are stories of women from the past, that everything is relative, and you should take the experiences and apply them across the board. Felicia from Melvindale, Michigan is a mother, a grandmother, and a nonprofit program manager with over 17 years in mental health. She leads with compassion through her ministry work and organization, the Christian Care Center. Now, you spoke about grace, but not as a soft word, as a force. And so, what does grace look like in the everyday moments when nobody's watching? Because I don't think we acknowledge, and we talk about waking up and giving gratitude. And then we also talk a lot about, we use the term loosely, giving people grace. So, but what does that really, what does grace really look like? Because I think you feel like it's a force to be reckoned with and that it happens more often than we recognize. We just don't see it.
Ooh, that's
Look, it's your
I'm
chapter. Your
nervous.
chapter, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's your force that's coming
yeah,
through with
yeah,
that. Mhm.
yeah. Just believing and trusting in God and thanking Him for the grace to carry me through those things, those difficult times as a child. Growing up, it was rough, and His grace did carry me through.
And so there are parts to our life. And as you said, there have been several times where you have been carried through. And y'all gotta read the chapters, gotta read the chapters. And there are women that are sitting in things that they can be delivered from, but they don't feel like they deserve it. They don't think they deserve a second chapter. So, how did you move from survival to surrendering that concept, that thought, and keep going?
Because at that was all that I had left. It was over. It was over for me. I didn't have anything else, and I had to surrender to make it this far. I had to believe
Mm-hmm.
God. I had to trust God. I had nothing else to do. I couldn't do anything else but trust Him.
So y'all in the story, y'all going, what happened? What happened? What? Why was she so? Mm, get the book. Get the book. Right now, you you have all this experience in mental health and in the ministry, your Christian care center. What can you say to people right now that are saying, I don't know how to make a way? They may be in a hopeless situation. They may just be in a helpless situation, but they're looking for somebody to just care. They're looking for compassion, for somebody to just say something that makes them feel like they exist, to acknowledge their existence here on the earth. And so I'm going to ask you uh, to step in and give a few words now with that mental health background.
I would give them the scripture. Um, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. I would give them that scripture because God has a plan for all of us. It seems as though you won't make it. When I started this project, I was married, happily married, I thought. Now I'm going through a divorce. And this project helped me through it. If it wasn't for Dr. Tamara giving me hope to have something to look for, I don't know where I would be. And I would
Mm,
try to give what she gave me to someone else because she really doesn't know what she did for me. And I would try to give that to someone else.
mm, mm. I love that. I love that. I feel that. Um, and this happens over and over again. And I'm going to give a little interlude about you all know not the troubles that the doctor went through. Now, y'all know, you know what I'm saying, but for the general audience, the plans that she had for herself that got set aside, and she has continued to follow. And this book didn't have to happen, and the books moving forward didn't have to happen. Um, there could have been a stop. She allowed herself the grace, allowed herself the grace. She has always operated with her steps ordered by God and had to say, you know what, I'm going to step out the way and I'm going to let you lead again. And we appreciate that because here we are and we didn't have to be. So, Dr. Tamara, I just want to give you that and continue to give you your flowers because it's beyond just published bestsellers. It's the inner work that you have done that then transfers to everybody else throughout this process as well. And we thank you for that. And thank you, Felicia, for sharing and for ministering to the audience. Thank you. Stacy, my namesake. How
Good
are you?
evening. I am well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Stacy Martin, through the fire, through the fight, honoring my Shiro. Based in Florida, Stacy is a senior program director and founder of the Shiro Mentoring Program, and she's also the visionary behind the Shiro Candle Collection. Oh, I love candles. And the Martin Foundation, honoring her late mother's legacy through service and advocacy. Now, people use the term Shiro, like I've seen it probably in the
Mm-hmm.
last 5 to 7 years. It's all, Shiro, Shiro, Shiro. But this
Mm-hmm.
is really focused and a tribute to your mother. So, how did honoring her help you reclaim parts of yourself that were hidden in the grief?
Because I constantly would hear her. She was my I'm gonna get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
She was my biggest cheerleader. So whenever we would do things together or whenever I would celebrate something, she would always say, "You go, girl. You rock." And she was a clown, I would like to say, because she was just full of life, full of energy, and she would light up a room. She walked in a room, she would light it up. And she truly wanted the best for everybody. And the best is the best version of themselves. So being happy, being at peace, and hearing her and knowing and hearing her saying, you go, girl, rock it." That's what she would say. So, when I do things with a purpose because I know that she's still standing right by my side, pushing me, like giving me that push. Uh-uh. No, you got this. You go, girl, you got this. So when I do things, I do it um, as she's standing beside me and with a
Mm-hmm.
purpose, knowing that I can do all things. All things.
I love that. Um, grief. Grief is something I think that gets dismissed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we see grief, and we'll come back to, we see grief a lot with the loss of a person, but I just want to mention that grief also comes with the repossession of a car, the
Yep.
loss of a job. It
Mm-hmm.
comes with the titles that you lose at work. It
Oh
comes
yeah.
in many forms,
Yep.
and we must acknowledge that and go through the grief process for those things, or
Mm-hmm.
they will be unresolved in the future as well. But moving back to the person, grief can feel like a full-time job.
Definitely.
So, what kind of rituals and words and truths helped you through that
Mm-hmm.
that fire of grief?
So, we did a lot of things together. We loved going to the beach. She loved sunflowers. We loved massages. We loved just kind of sitting and reflecting and journaling. And so for me, going to the beach it centers me. It brings me peace. It allows me to get out of my head. It allows me to refocus and talk to myself and and allow God to talk to me and meditate. Oftentimes I'm fortunate to live in sunny South Florida now, and really fortunate to live a mile away from the beach. So I
Mm,
can walk to the beach. I can sit there and meditate and just and hear the ocean And those were things that we truly enjoyed, listening to music and dancing and being silly and goofy. So I think it's important to practice the self-care and do things that are going to bring you peace, because if you truly don't do those things, you will be off balance. And it's hard to dig yourself out of something when you can't, when you're not sure what to do to dig yourself out of that hole, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because you're so deep in it that you can't, if you've gone on a trip, a driving trip, and you go through a tunnel, and the tunnel is so long that I remember going on drives as a kid, and I absolutely despised going through the tunnels because I was like, where's the light? And I would panic, where's the light? Where's the light? Well, that's like grief. You can't
Mm,
see the light because you're in that tunnel, and the tunnel is dark. You see a little bit of lights, and you're trying to, I think I can, I want to see the light, but you can't see the light because you're stuck in it. And so you have to really dig deep, and you have to really, really want to get out of that. And so you have to minister to yourself. And that's a lot of times that's what I would do. I would minister to myself so that I could see the light. And so I want to have purpose, so that you want better. You don't want to stay in that dark place.
I love that. And then the last question with that is, some people are saying, I hear you,
Mm-hmm.
but how do I do that by myself? Your chapter is so surrounded about with the relationship with your mom, and you all, dig in and read and hear about the experiences. I'm sure many people again can relate, but you're saying go out there and continue to do the things that brought you all joy, but
Mm-hmm.
without your mom. How? How? Speak. Yeah.
So your life changes because the person who was physically there is no longer physically there. So you become a different person. So you do different things. You create new traditions. You create new rituals to honor that person. And that in itself brings you peace, because you're not telling that person goodbye. You're still talking to them. You're still honoring them. You're still honoring their legacy. And what's even more important is you're allowing other people to know who that person was and is to you. So it's really important that you have so much love for a person that's why it hurts so much. But you continue to honor that person by creating new traditions. I buy sunflowers. That was her favorite sunflower. I have an area in my home that's designated and dedicated to her. I walk on the beach. When I go get a massage, it's for me and her. So
Mm.
do things that you still would do, but now you're doing it with an even bigger purpose.
So, Stacy, thank you for being somebody else's shero.
Thank you.
Go get it,
Hmm.
and you rock.
Hey, and as she would say, that's my plan, and I'm gonna stick to it.
All right. All right. Okay. And do we have our final author? Is she here, Holly?
Nope, Holly won't be with us tonight.
Okay. All right. Just so that you all know, we're going to have her presence and her spirit here to close this out. Holly McCarthy, Against All Odds. Hailing from New Britain, Connecticut, Holly's a notary business owner, a real estate agent, a payroll specialist for Hartford Public Schools, and she's a proud grandma and a lifelong learner with a master's in higher education counseling. And we can just imagine, like, all of these stories, this isn't in, although she's not here, this is against all odds. You all made it against all odds, whether it was the identity, the culture, the grief, whether it was the experiences that you had, and it's the things that you were still going through. And just know that each one of you has said that there's already a plan. It is mapped out. Your faith will allow you to continue. He will carry you, and that the future is bright. So, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go back around through the list. And Dr. Tamara has had a number of these books and a number of authors. I know the experiences that everybody has gone through has not been just about the chapter. And we've already heard from author Felicia that even now there's an experience that she's going through. And this group being here and Dr. Tamara being present has allowed her to continue to walk in her faith and to not have as much fear. So I want each of you to tell a little bit about what it was like to work with the good doctor from your perspective. And we're going to start with, the person that's written all of these books, because it's like, well, why did you decide you're going to, be part of this anthology when you could have just, checked it off, gone to the side, taken 48 hours and knocked it out. No, I was just kidding. But author Alicia, how was it working with Dr. Tamara?
It was phenomenal. Dr. Tamara answered the call that she didn't even know she was supposed to answer. We were fresh here in Bainbridge, Georgia, and I was still going through my grief. And Stacey, I'm trying not to get emotional, girl. You hit a nerve. But Dr. Tamara really pulled out of me what I needed to help me heal and push through. And a lot of times when you're going through your journey, you don't reflect, you don't look back, you just keep going, you keep going. But in writing this book and going through the editing process, she was like, we need more. What does this mean? And I'm like, how she know I had more? But she knew I had more, and she knew I needed to dig deeper. And so this was truly a godsend. It also supported me in birthing the brick and mortar that has been a dream since 2023. And it really propelled me to say, no, push forward. You're actually writing the story now, real time, and it has to have a good ending. And it has. We have our brick and mortar here in Bainbridge. We're supporting women holistically. We're saying if your infertility is physical or spiritual, we got you, sis. If your mental health issues are there, you're not alone. If you don't have faith, let me encourage you and read my story, because if I made it, you definitely can make it. So it was a phenomenal experience.
I love that.
And Dr. Stacey, Alicia, I want you to share what's the name of your business in Bainbridge.
Absolutely. It's I See My Baby. We're a 501c3, and we have our first brick and mortar women's wellness center. We provide yoni steaming. Oprah started talking about it, and I'm telling everybody down south, now we can talk about it. So we help with menopause, premenopause, puberty, infertility, you name it, we support. And we use the wellness wheel. So we are holistic. We're wrapping it around your spiritual, your physical, your mental, everything, sis. Let's go. And we're extending it to the men to say, well, if we're getting the women strong and motivated, y'all need some support too. So we brought along a man to expand the program. His name is Mr. Reeves. Shout out to Mr. Reeves. He's watching. And he helps with mental health. He helps them show up as fathers and men in society, because it is very different from 1960 all the way to 2025. And we've also expanded to feeding, because you don't want to hear from me if you're trying to figure out your food budget, what's your next meal going to be. So we have that as well. But thank you for the time to really tell you all about what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And where can they find you if somebody wants to connect with you?
Absolutely. We're everywhere. I'm going to put it there in the link, but I see my baby.org. Me and my oldest, we TikTok and do all that stuff. But if you Google I see my baby.org, it will pop up.
Ooh, all right. Thank you so much. All right. Marcy, how was your experience working with the good doctor?
Well, it was an amazing experience. I started bragging about it before the project was even even over. I'm an introvert, right? So, Dr. Tamara, sometimes I felt like when I'm stuck, she pulls stuff out of you. She's called to this. I know she's called. It's a calling, and I know she knows that. But the transformation for me has been amazing as well. Not just writing my story, Through the editing process, I began to look at it and said, I did this. I mean, I've always wanted to write a book, and I journal a lot, but for it to be happen and continuously, and the way she just I see it as not, like your baby started walking and you're there to hold them, if just in case they're gonna fall. That's how I would explain this whole process, because she's not gonna let you fall. She's not gonna let you fail. She's gonna, pull you through it. Tease you a bit with your brain, like, how you want to tell it? Because I remember I said something. I don't feel like when I read it, it's like, well, how do you want to tell it? You know what I mean? So she is an amazing teacher, an amazing guide that she guides you through the process. And I will recommend this to anyone that we all have a story like she tell you. I thought I didn't have one. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I think, even after I started writing, I wanted to like, this is, nobody's gonna read this because there's nothing, but she assures you have something to tell. We all live our life as telling story, or storytellers. Our life is a story, right? But the fact that she's just a genius at it, and just so again, because she's called to do it, she know exactly how to point you and to turn you in the right direction. And I appreciate her so very much. Like you said, give her flowers now. We tend not to do so when she's standing in front of us. Well, she just need her flower, but she is an amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Tamara. Now I'm posting. I went live a couple of times thanks to her. I'm just like, I feel free, feel free. And I'm not like, no limits, no more limits. I don't put no more limits on myself. I just go for it. Whether it's perfect or not perfect, I'm going to do it. So thank you so much. I appreciate this whole process, and then the community that I'm a part of now, that she brought us together, is just awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
And where can the audience find you before you click out?
So, yes, so www.therainvenue.info, but you could Google me and I'll pop up. And also, so you could Google me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm sometimes on TikTok, not as often, and I'm on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Carolyn, how was it working with the doctor?
Wow. I got so many words. I can't even say it all. But it was definitely a blessing, an experience that I will never forget. Her, how can I say? Her aura about her is like she gravitates to people. And with this book, a dream come true. Because I have been working with people to get the book done. Let me tell y'all, she got this book done in less than, I'm just guessing, I think it's about 7 or 8 months. When I've been working with people for years. But she got it done. And it's like my life story. And when I think about it, I'm like, oh, like, how did she get that out of me? How did she get that story out of me like that within that time? So I'm telling you, if you have a story out there, she will help you with the story. Not only that, she will walk you through it, and you be wondering, like I am, how did that happen? It's because of what she's been, like everybody say, gifted, what she's been purposed to do, and how God has called her to do it. And I'm in awe of what God has put in her, and in awe of what she's doing to help people. So it was definitely an experience, especially with the social media. I was not trying to get on social media like that. But she kept giving us tests and, things to do. And I would be like, okay, I got to do it because Dr. Tanaz said, get on it, But she's definitely a person who has called with these stories and to help people with their story. So if you have a story in you, Dr. Tanaz is going to get it out of you. You just got to walk with her and work with her. So I thank God for the opportunity. I thank God for being, in this atmosphere. And I want to do another one. I keep saying, I want to do another one, But this is not the end for me. I'm praying, Lord, how am I going to get back in there again? So it's coming again. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to my co-authors. Thank you so much. Because if it wasn't for you all as a team, I always say, we work together as a team. And when a team comes together, things do work. So that's how the book actually came together, because we work together as a team. So thank you, thank you.
Fabulous. And where can the audience find you?
I have on Facebook, it's long, I'll just put com/Carolyn.Bryant.775. It's on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. All right, y'all, tap in. Make sure that you follow this thread. You see this, and the women are going to be, part of this. So if you're struggling saying, I didn't catch that, then you've got a replay too. So thank you, Carolyn, for that. Tiffany.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. How was it? What was the experience like?
Well, first off, I've been following Dr. Tamara for over 4 years now. And I distinctly remember the email that came through. And it was just like God had said to me, this is your moment, Tiffany. You need to listen to this woman. And I am so grateful that I listened to that voice. All of my co-authors here talked about it. There's so much that I have learned and been stretched as a result of her pushing us. And as you were asking the question, I was thinking about just that birthing process, right? Like as a mother, we go through the travail, they call it, right? The contractions happen, right? All of the things happen. And there comes a point where you kind of have to just stand still. And I remember that point in my story where I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this. I just want to put this thing down, right? And there comes Dr. Tamara, and she's like, nope, what about this? Or have you looked at this again, right? Like she's there almost like your coach, your doula, your nurse, everything all packed into one. And when I look back at what she has produced as a body of women, we're all different, but we're all uniquely fit together, propelled to purpose. And it's just amazing to me the call that God has given on her life, and so I'll kind of go back to the beginning, not really knowing who she is, and now having kind of walked alongside her for this, it's just shown me, one, we have to listen to the call, but two, when you're truly in your purpose, which she is, nothing is going to stop that. Not one thing is going to stop that movement. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful.
Yes, and where can the people find you?
I am on Facebook, Instagram, but mainly you will find me on LinkedIn.
All right, and what's your username or handle?
My handle on Instagram is Lady Tiffy. And if you just Google my name, Tiffany Mack Mohammed, you will find me in all of those spaces.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Liz. How was it?
Yes. It was a phenomenal experience. It's kind of cool because I met Dr. Tamara years and years ago. We sort of worked together, separate agency, but we worked together. So it's been so amazing seeing her through all of her journey. And then every time I see her put this out, hey, I'm doing, and I look, I'm like, nah, not this time, not this time, not this time. And so when I reached out to her, of course, my excuse is, I don't know. I don't think I want to put this out there. I don't know if I want to really share something so personal. Like, I don't. And she saw past it. She was like, nope, it'll fit in just fine with the rest of the other stories, and think about it. But I'm going to follow up with you. And she did. And she, held us all accountable and just really made us really dig for more, and instead of surface stuff. And in doing that, it allowed me to really see those things that I overcame, and I stopped being kind of embarrassed about that stuff and really started to be proud of it and say, you know what, this is amazing. I'm awesome. And I started to really it just gave me more confidence, and really starting to see like all the women, everyone, we're all connected by this, but everyone is doing their own thing, and I love when everyone's like, this is not it. Like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing more. And so it just opens a whole other part for us. So it's been truly amazing. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Tamara and all the ladies here.
And where can everyone find you?
So I am also on social media, Facebook, Liz Marie, in Instagram, author LMV. Have a website. It's www.lizmverine.com.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Felicia,
I
did
can't
you have a
find
good
the
time
words
rocking with
to
it? Good.
I can't find the words to describe her. She's just an amazing woman. I mean, from the TikTok videos to the messages that I felt that were personally just for me, I can't begin to mm, get my thoughts wrapped around where I am right now because of her. She's just a wonderful person. That's all I can say. And it was a pleasure. Oh, it was a pleasure.
That's Grace. You said it with grace. And she brings grace to the table in all of the things that she does. And I appreciate that. Where can they find you, author Felicia?
Facebook, Felicia Hughes.
Okay, come through. All right. Stacy, how was it for you?
Amazing. 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 And I'm going to tell you why. Because I sat on this story for 2 years. One day I was strolling on Facebook and there was her post. And I was like, God, what? No. So kept scrolling and I kept seeing the post about this opportunity. So I sent her a message and, I said, I think I want to do this. And, she said, okay, let's do it. And once I got into it, I remember her saying, I said, I guess I'm in it. I can't back out now, huh? I can't quit. Nope, you can't. So that the push, the believing in our stories, because we have a purpose. And it's so interesting, propelled into purpose, because we all have a purpose. But even through the process, because it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy. In every single, I think we're so connected that for each one of us, we probably had doubts. We probably had at some point, let me catch the next train because we have so much going on in our lives. We all have things going on in our lives, but she wouldn't let us. Nope. Even if you missed a deadline, nope, let's get back on the train. And so for that, I will forever be grateful. Forever be grateful. Because this is something I wanted to do. And I can now say I'm an author. I can now say I'm an author with the thanks to Dr. Tamara. I will forever be grateful. And I'm working on another project. So
Hey, very good. And where can the
yes.
audience find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Stacy Martin, on Instagram, author Stacy Martin, and Shiro Candle Collection.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to Doc. I get to have my moments. This is one of my favorite moments out of the whole thing. So the word Tiffany hit it for me was the doula really came out, and I know you're queen visionary, and that's the pretty glamorized, but the nitty gritty part of it is you are the book doula. You really take people through the preparation for, the fears of, that you have the steps in place. You've done this before with other women, and you've already seen where people have derailed. You have worked with all of those processes. So there's no excuse that you haven't heard yet already. They are in the position, like you said, once they're in, you consider them, they are with child. And you are going to deliver this child healthy, safely, and delivered to the world for that child to be seen. And that's exactly what you have done again with these women. Propelled into Purpose, stories of strength, faith, and courage. And I'm not going to give her long bio. You can see it in the book. Grab it so you can read her long. She's been here for a while. She's done too many things for me to sit here and read. But just to get to it, she's in Connecticut. She's an award-winning author, publisher, and transformational speaker. Founder of TM Davis Enterprise, Dr. Tamara Mitchell Davis is a literary architect known for curating bold narratives that amplify women's voices and sometimes men and bridge faith with purpose. Her work as a visionary storyteller and a movement maker has redefined the landscape of modern anthologies, elevating lived experience into legacy. I want to thank you for continuing to do God's work, to continuing to show up and not stopping, for being your own doula, because there is nobody there walking you through this process but Him. And you do it so well. You are ordained to do this. And we want to see you continue by supporting you, by grabbing the book if you're out there as the audience, by sharing this live, especially if there's a story that touched you, by reaching out to these women and letting them know that you appreciate their vulnerability and their story, that you connect, that you understand them, that you see them, that you hear them, that they rock. We want you to do that. They need this support. You heard many of them are going to go forward. You just came off of another conference, Pin to Profit. And so I'm going to ask you to tell a little bit about that, of course. And then, of course, what the frick is coming up next? So Dr. Tamara, tell us a little bit about Pin to Profit. This, last, you are probably still on the high and tired, both things, but you're here today. And then what's coming up next?
Yeah, so I want to say again, Dr. Stacy, thank you so much for being available and moderating Propelled into Purpose. It's official, like they say, it's official like tissue. When we do this, that means it's official. I'm saying it twice because that means it's real. So I want to thank the ladies for entrusting me with their stories. And I never really considered it the way that, like, you just said it so eloquently, like just the process of it all. I think because I enjoy watching the transformation that I get so caught up in getting them to the finish line so that they can experience the transformation for themselves, because I know once the faucet gets turned on, the water just continues to flow. And so I'm excited to hear them and see them with that excitement, with the energy of like, I'm still moving forward. This is a movement all by itself. And I want them to continue with that momentum, knowing that they wrote the story to help other people. Writing is the beginning, building is next level. And so continue to ride the wave and the momentum of everything. And I just want to encourage them to do that. And Pin to Profit. So yes, we just ended Pin to Profit. It was a phenomenal experience. I'm still a little tired and recuperating from it, trying to rest and work and do all the things and bring it together. But it was important for me to still have the ladies a part of their own experience. I didn't want to miss the moment with them while we had just released hit bestseller in multiple categories and, just riding the wave of that as well. I wanted to still be present for us to relish in that accomplishment and them having their stories published. So with Pin to Profit, it is next level. It's taking your story and your book and moving it into more. And you get to define what that more is for you. So it's taking the published author, now that you have it, you have your story, you have the book, and you're ready to move it into opportunities and get in front of your people and your audience and build with it. That's what Pin to Profit was created for. That safe space. You've written the story. Now you're home. You're amongst your peers. You can let your hair down. You can be vulnerable. You can share where some of those stops or gaps have been for you. and allow me to assist you in your next and you building a path forward. And so we go from pen, the writing, to profit, because I do believe that with our stories, we do have an opportunity to increase our influence, make impact, and of course, generate income. And so it's the 3 I's, and we get to do that. So Pen to Profit concluded. The book project is here. It's released now into the marketplace. It has been, so look out for the ladies as they do their book signings and continue to move and shake in their spaces and places. And what's next? Right now, a nap. That's the immediate. I will be resting this weekend. But you already know there's things, cooking that we're cooking up in the kitchen. So you can expect to see more from me, book collaborations, strategizing, building beyond the book, and really helping the women lean into what that looks like for them. So you want to build into more? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for your audience? And again, moving with the 3 I's, the income, the influence, and the impact, because that is next level. Don't let your story collect the dust. Don't get sidetracked. Know that you have written a story for a particular audience, and the mission and goal is to get in front of them. And so, yeah, there's more coming. And thank you.
And I want you all to, out there in the audience, not to miss the methods by which these women became part of this project. She's teaching them to use social media and to leverage the platforms. But also, did you hear that somebody came by email? So don't miss that, the power of all of the avenues. So if you're saying I'm an introvert and I don't do lives, that's yet. But what can you do? What platforms are you already on that you can leverage? And then are you someone that writes? Can you write articles? Can you contribute? Can you send the emails out? Because someone here was picked up through an email. Other people, TikTok was the method because she went out there, she's played, she's danced, she's had a good time on TikTok. But we know that she is a woman that is about her business and the business of God. In addition to that, so don't sleep on leveraging these platforms in the ways that you can. And then, of course, this last event was in person. So don't forget that in person, you are to mention your book. Be prepared to tell them where they can get it. If you don't have it on you, have the QR code, have the method, have the intention, because you don't know where it's going to lead you to and what people you can lead back to her by the example that you have set and the testimonies that you have given. So I am the operator, and I have enjoyed yet another virtual book launch. This time it was Propelled into Purpose, and I have definitely connected with all of the women here through reading their stories, as well as hearing the experiences and answering the questions that they did. I hope you as the audience did too. And if you're looking to write a book, if you need that support, become a part of Dr. Tamara's community. If you're following one of the ladies here and you don't follow her yet on Facebook, please do that. Follow her on TikTok. You already heard. If she has an opt-in, get on her email list, because you never know, silently in the background, you could be next. Dr. Tamara, back to you.
Thank you again. So ladies, as we close out on a count of 3, I just want us to say propelled into purpose, speaking it into the atmosphere. All right. So let's wait until you all come off mute. And I'm going to count to 3. And we're just going to say propelled into purpose in unison. All right. 1, 2, 3. Propelled into purpose. All right.
Congratulations, y'all.
Awesome.
Thank you.